Welcome to this week's soul guidance reading from the 14th of July all the way through to the 20th, which is actually the new moon, day of the new moon in Cancer, I believe. So I've drawn the cards out and I've laid the cards down, and I'm using the Osho Tarot, Zen Tarot, which I've opened already, and I've had a look at them, and I've kind of focused on them to see what messages are coming through for me to be able to inform you with. And I've got some Jamie Sands Sacred Path cards, those ones which I haven't actually looked at. There are two of them that flew open, so I've kept them open, and then there's four here that are not open as yet. So anyway, I'm going to go straight into the reading. Okay, so we start the new week off. And although it's a new week, the energy will be carrying through, traveling at different times and space, you know. So while it is for the calendar month of July on the 14th to the 20th, some of you could be experiencing, already experienced some of this and are feeling it, and or will be experiencing it along the course of the week and beyond. So at the early stage of the energy for the week is basically that I feel that there's some kind of change. I think there are things that are going to be moving from a level that's maybe gone down. So we've had some situation, you might have started feeling quite low. You might have felt that your energy's dipped, or you might have felt that some projects are actually not sort of falling into place as you might like it to have been. There is definitely a shift, taking a different focus, I feel, as a driving force for yourself, for your work, and then looking at the segments, possibly at what you can bring in and what you might discard, which is interesting. I'm saying this as well because looking at the picture this week, particularly, I feel that last week there was quite a bit of emphasis on love, but not necessarily. It could have been an external love, but obviously a love to do with what you love to do and everything else. But there was big emphasis, I felt, in some way, to be opening your heart to various things. This week, particularly this week, I feel that the message more is about your creativity and about what you're doing. And there's a lot of cards that kind of indicate that. I've started doing kind of not sort of meditating, if you like, you know, that word gets used a lot, and channeling this and that. Basically, I just asked if there's a message that I could actually inform those who are listening here. And the message I personally got that came down for me was open up, retrieve what has use, and leave the rest. Okay, so we'll start with this actually. Okay, so this is kind of like the overall theme. So interestingly, the first card is on, you know, and this has gone down on the inversion. So I feel that, as you can see, it's kind of rotating. It's like a spin, you know. So if you're like spinning in the clothes dryer, or even the water mills, you know, you would pick up the water and it'll drop and it'll spill out what they didn't use, and it'll pick up another lot, and then sort of, you know. So that's how a water mill works. And I feel that there is something around that, which is interesting. And also, I'm going to skip to the bottom card here, because that is the clarifying card that I opened from the Sacred Path cards. And it has a very similar message. The new abilities means something wants to come through, something needs to come through. And also it's actually looking at what you already have, what are you going to keep, and then what are you going to cultivate on with what you have, and what are you going to discard. The peyote ceremony often is, in the native tradition, a ceremony where you would actually undergo inward, and having been strip yourself away from recognizing what you need to let go and what you need to actually own. And this is to do with your abilities. So for some, there's definitely some new information, new opportunities coming. And I felt that was very much last week's reading as well. You know, we were going through a certain personal transformation. There's lots of opportunities of possible abundance, creativity, and the card that we finished on last week was creativity, which also happened to appear here. So I have got that same card, and I'll quickly give it a quick flash. All right, the same card, the creativity card, is here, but this time it's in the middle of the spread. But as you know, some of you, as the more you come back here, you'll recognize my style. While it's laid out, I kind of read it as a whole. So we have this change, and I feel that definitely there's going to be some shifting, some big release, and some really big culling as well. Okay, and you might have to actually be quite, I wouldn't say severe, but quite sort of definite about it. All right, it really is not a good time to go around in your head about things, because you can actually get yourself messed up and go round and round as well. Okay, we've got this card again in the same position, the mind card. All right, I just feel like in some way as well, for me now, right now, is actually not to say too much. This card I'm interpreting is not to say too much, not to overthink things, but to trust what needs to fall falls, and what needs to stay will stay, which also most goes up to this. So be open to retrieve what has used and leave the rest. Things might just actually be falling on the wayside as well. This is in order to build a new platform, a new building, if you like. This is an opportunity for you to start reviewing what has long-standing future. Okay, this could be for some of you, okay, to do with your work, and maybe even in your relationship. So this could also mean, say if I was to read it in relationships, and to retrieve, so to keep what you've learned, to keep what you have in terms of and what's useful, and then to leave the rest that's actually no longer useful, as in to apply to a new relationship. We can often bring a lot of baggage as well. We can overthink things, and things need to be let go of and just released, okay? And which is interesting, because next to that was also the guilt card, which is, again, you can see she's really in her head. So some of you, a bit to do with work or love, but let me just stay with the love for now, since that's what I was last talking about, is that perhaps you could be overthinking things and wanting to actually pull out what you feel needs to happen in order for it to work. And I wonder if there's a bit too much control here or not. Yeah, try not to get too noisy in your head and feeling bad about certain things, or if something's not going quite in the way that you might want it to go, to get in your head about it and feel bad about it, okay? This is not a time to shout out what you want. This is actually a time to actually start cultivating and actually being the observer and watching what you can see from where you're standing. I think you need to trust that things are going to open up when they do, and allowing your view to be as it is, or where you are right now to be as it is, okay? So the idea is not to get too stuck in where you think you want to go. If you do that, you might be tugging away again about some past story. This card has been coming up quite regularly for me. I didn't come up last week, but we've had this card, which often indicates the outside. Are you feeling that you're being left out, things are not going your way, or you might find that actually you're being ignored. And also I often read this as the inner child card, one, the inner child needing to be released. I feel like the theme for this week as well is very, really, all these aspects, that you need to kind of stay on looking out, viewing the situation rather than really acting, and then stop getting into your head about things and see what is going to fall, and just be mindful and watch, okay? You will know when to to come out of the situation. This is very much as well, I've just opened another card of this Jamie Sams, returning home, which is actually coming back to yourself. So this is really important. Again, coming back to the message, open up, retrieve what has used and leave the rest, and trusting that whatever you need to retrieve will be bringing you back home. In some way, you could be actually looking at what you might have in terms of your work as well. All right, so what is it that I've got that I can really offer to the world? What is it that I can actually discard? And what really has some meaning to my heart, my mind, my body, and my soul? That is the card of returning. It may mean that you need to go out into nature as well and really kind of get plugged in, so you can actually start sensing what needs to fall. All right, there is something that's really integral, very sort of important for many of you, that you start really tapping into your source of true creativity. Things that will bring all the elements of you actually shining out in the world, one that's going to bring some financial abundance and also a lot of creative expression. Okay, so it's no longer that you need to kind of choose one or the other and then sort of sacrifice something, but it's like, how can I integrate what I have and bring it together? I feel like you might get some messages and support from people as well that's around you. And then in taking the messages from the people around you, just see which ones are actually going to bring you some cultivation and has some promise or room for growth. Okay, here also the creativity card, I feel really summarizes that here we have the Empress. She's the creative mother. She's the birther of ideas, and she's reaching out for the moon. This card was the final card of the last week's spread, which is very much about tapping into that. So some of you might have had the insight and the clarity, or beginning to get sparks of clarity around what, how you might actually want to grow and cultivate what you really need to do. Yeah. I feel like some of you with multi-talents as well, who are really multi-talented and multitasked, and what's that word? A multi-potentialite, you know. I feel multiples here. There's a lot of things that people can really integrate in bringing your multiple skills into the equation and into the space. Again, by going near to water and nature, which is interesting because as we're approaching the new moon in Cancer, all right, this is the second new moon we've had as well in Cancer, back to back. So the emphasis of your emotion self is really important. I think taking some emotional time out will be also very wise, but going near water as well. Some of you might actually feel that you might want to cry for some of the dreams that never really happened and release them as well, and actually really allow them to flow and let them go. Okay, I think we all have some dreams and ambitions that maybe we'd hoped to acquire or spark when we were younger, and it could be the fact that we were never able to really get out of the cage that we got put into and unable to express ourselves. Okay, so there could be some aspect of ourselves really having to let go of the childhood dream because they were never allowed to be released. Okay, and if that resonates with some of you, this could also mean that whatever childhood dream that you might have had, it might be time to actually to unlock it as well and to bring it to the fore and see how you can actually integrate it in your current life. Yeah, and I'm kind of beginning to actually go more that way, but it could be either way for whoever is listening. But there is a possibility here that I feel that this is now maybe time to actually unlock some of the dreams and the passions that you've had as a child and bring it into the sphere and see how it actually became cultivated and if there's anything to grow from there, okay? Which could also really bring you home again, all right? You know, because we really stray away from ourselves, from our childhood, from what we really would have loved to have done. Okay, the other here are, this is the other clarity card here for the creativity. Is note, this is actually quite interesting as well because this is cycles of movement. So in some ways, some of it, you know, you could be going through a cycle or recognizing, this is a medicine wheel card, and it is to do with things turning round, which is also again the card of change, seeing where the cycles are changing. All right, so in some way we will be going through a shift in the energy. For some it could be quite dynamic. There's a sense of wanting to get things done, wanting to put the pieces in order, wanting to get some structure, some things in place so you can actually start seeing where you need to start working from. But it just means that you definitely will need to leave some things behind, or if things are falling by the wayside, you might recognize that some things are simply not working, to acknowledge that change, that cycle, and see where you're actually in the movement of the creativity. Yeah. Let's have a look. Wow, okay, yeah. So we have this shamans as death and rebirth, so I'm actually quite right in saying there are some things that's going to have to let go of. You know, if you need to go inward for this as well, trust that things are naturally wanting to die, so you can actually rebirth new ideas. This cycles of movement card also for some reason is bringing me to think about the butterfly. You know, it has a natural cycle process of sort of going into the cocoon, breaking itself down, you know, completely dissolving its structure, which is almost like this, you know, like whatever you used to think that you were going to do, whatever you thought where you were going to go, it's all just kind of almost dissolving here, especially as we're starting the week. So some of us actually will be getting a feeling towards the opening of the week that things are actually really having to be reconstructed in order for something new to come in, and recognize it's just part of the cycle in order for us to move forward. There'll be definitely some new abilities being cited in your mind, in your spirit, in your heart, or being suggested, okay? The main thing is just notice try not to project yourself out into what you think you ought to be doing, or what messages that you have had projected by others. It's very important that you be still and trust your inner intuition. Okay, and for some of you, this could also mean that there's a lot of choices out there and you don't even really know which eyes or set of eyes to see what you want to do and where you want to go. But I am getting the feeling mainly that actually you really need to go inward and focus on your creative power from the inside out. Okay, and when I say inside out, despite what people might be thinking or know you for, or expect you to be doing. So sometimes it's actually really difficult to break away from what we used to do, because people see us from a certain set of eyes and then expect us to be doing that all the time. All right, and it's a really hard thing, despite the fact that you know you've been called to something else. What's beautiful about the card, some of these, the Osho cards today, I normally do a single layer, but there are lots of doubles today that kind of came out. And I actually opened one or two to sort of balance the opening. I just felt like right to actually open some more cards today. And I love this card. I always love this card. This is a 10 of Cups, really. But here in the Osho card, it's about you going inward. And if you notice the meditation here, that the light goes through her heart, all the way above and behind, rather, her head, in through to her third eye. And then you can sort of just map it out as a figure of 8, so sort of see it spiraling down and going down through her body, coming out through her heart and up and down. So doing a meditation like this would be really, really powerful at this time. You need to be tapping into what brings you joy. The message is really, really clear at the moment, and has been and will continue to be, that you cannot afford to feel guilty to do what you really want to do. It is really time for you to return home and get inward. I feel that in some of us really need to go back and start really feeling our way through to what will really bring us the joy, and not worrying what other people are thinking. Okay, I feel that in some way this also is clarified by this viewpoint and options. All right, you might actually get people putting their aura in and giving you their viewpoint and options, or you may actually be going out to ask people for their viewpoint and options, but recognize which ones are worth taking in, so you can actually come to a point of your harmony. Okay, it's really important at this, because there is definitely some kind of letting go that needs to happen. Okay, I don't think so much as a mental attitude, but it is actually not to be mentally stuck on something. So you're really coming from a place of heart, so you can really start feeling and sensing your harmony. So if there are any imbalances in your life, really start sort of putting your thoughts, or rather your intention, to what would bring me harmony, and where do I need to really balance things out. Okay, talk it through to somebody you know who's an expert, who has a viewpoint that could really actually provide you and offer you the direction that you could do with. This could also point to having a conversation with spirit as well. Okay, and not to be afraid to ask for the helping hand and for the viewpoint from spirit's vantage point. Okay, which is also kind of this is kind of the opening card. This is where spirit is really talking to you as well. So, you know, do not be afraid to really put it out there and allow your old self to die. You've got to let your old identity die as well. All right, some of us have maybe been working on certain things for years, and we've kind of lost track of who we really are, you know, because we're seen in a certain way. Okay, and I feel that in some way it's time to release the mask. I'm going to see if there's anything here to do with the death of, this is the shaman's death. This is actually a wonderful card, because it allows for new possibilities and new openings. Yeah, an ending in a beginning, stopping and changing gears, harvesting and planting. So it's basically to do with cycles as well, completing all cycles. So it is very much part of that, and also letting the past be buried. Now this is also really brings me quite nicely also to the fact that we're coming to the new moon. Roundabout this reading is projected energetically. This is the new moon, which means it's a new beginning. So it is also really, really highly recommended that if you have a deadline, a boundary to put up with anybody that you've given that's gone down, you know, onto deaf ears, or you're needing to put some kind of lasting impact or boundary on a line, this is the time to do it. Okay, you do it for the new moon, because beyond this new moon you do not want to be dealing with anything that is not actually going to serve you. Okay, which also really brings me to this past life card. This is the last row here. We have the card. So this is really about letting go of the past as well. Definitely showing the past, letting go of the old stories, the old people, all the people who've not even served you, people who've taken advantage of you, people who've had their backs to you, the people who've not actually honored you in any way, and really trust the support you're getting. You know, there's some new people who really have your back. Okay, anybody who also has you splitting apart in terms of having you, not honor yourself, or you're actually not becoming congruent to yourself, you really want to have out, okay? Because while it's not their problem for creating that, this is really important that you do not split yourself into two, or into putting a mask on, or to putting, I always see these two figures, these lizards, like a chameleon, going in two separate ways. Okay, and I can't help but often relate that this is something that you're being pulled into two different directions, possibly to do with people from your past life. Okay, it could be a past story as well, some kind of way of being. No more split personality and characteristics. Really important that you start honoring who you are and becoming congruent, which really brings it quite nicely to this card, and which is next to this one. Okay, we've got the card of existence. This is like the Magician card. This is about you really putting your wishes, your intentions out. Brilliant one for the new moon. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And look who's actually supporting it as well. We've had this card 2 weeks ago, but your truth as your protection. All right, so this is about aiming high. This is about being the warrior, the warrioress. Okay, really being clear and very defined, and be truthful to yourself. Okay, at the core of yourself, in your absolute personal space, when you get quiet, really what's true. Okay, and I feel in some ways, well, it's a really good time as we hit sort of the weekend at 18th, 19th and the 20th of the new moon, to actually really take stock of what elements you want to aim for. So if you actually imagine this arrow here, okay, and shooting for the star, which one are you going to shoot for? Okay, there might be something coming in, yes, but which ones are you really going to go for? What is important to you? What do you want? Ask yourself these questions, okay? Really, really important, because that will really take you to where you need to go and start formulating a new cycle and a new path. While we're actually mid-year, this 220 has already broken down a lot of structures for us to start thinking of doing things differently. And it's a really question of how can I actually offer what I do in a way that has some truth, not even some truth, some absolute real heartfelt truth towards me or for me, and in what way I can serve, which actually that brings me really nicely to this card, which is the new deck I started implementing in these readings. Okay, here we have this card actually says technology. This is from the Vibrational Healing Card. All right, and actually by looking at the card, you can sort of invoke the vibrational healing. And this card really is about how can we bring technology, would you believe it, okay, into what we love doing. How can I express myself through the technology that is actually available, and express myself through a loving manner. So I did have a quick look before I started recording, and it says invent and design. So this is really the key pointer of this. I just want to make sure the camera hasn't stopped. No, it hasn't. Okay. So the affirmation here is, I use tools as a means to express my love for community or group. So in some way, this is really important that, that we're really much a time moving into time of service rather than self-greed and self kind of, doing things for the gain for the self. Okay, this is about how can I offer what I've got to the world? How can I offer my talents and skills and be of service in a way that really benefits the community, my immediate community, or the global community or group even. Okay, it's not about doing things expansively all the time. It's about what difference can I make, and where can I do that and express myself from, and who can I join up with, which groups of people can I really join with, so I can really express my love and put the work out there. So very much about looking at the tools that you can refine them, have them refine, and refine the tools that you are using, so you're in harmony with nature's rhythms and spirits as well. It says here, realize how you can contribute to the cultural body by using technology. Okay, and the main thing here to ask is, for what purpose or greater end is technology used? To consider what is best. I mean, obviously this will be doing YouTube, but there are many ways now we can actually express ourselves. So this is something really to cultivate on. Okay, I am actually going to, my battery's about to go as well, and this last time this happened, it actually just quit on me. So I'm just going to also show you one of the surrender cards, which is here, which is to do with surrender to joy. This is a card that, while I was shuffling, popped out. Can you see this? No, let's go back. Oh no. There. Okay, so there you see this absolutely beautiful figure. This is about where you want to be going, which is what we're talking about, bringing yourself into harmony. Okay, so as a key positive change, so this is where we really need to have the key and the focus on, is to, what you need to change in your life is to let joy in and savor it. Okay, indulge in random acts of smiling, playing, both the hard work, both for the hard and easy times. Keep surrendering more to joy. I feel this card also is expressing that to actually be playful in things, so you can actually really allow things to come in seamlessly. Okay, I'm going to choose another card here. Yeah, surrender to inner peace. So whatever is going on for yourself as well, just keep on surrendering to peace, bring yourself into the harmony, bring yourself into your quiet space. Okay, in doing so, you're able to actually tune into really good vibrations, and your life will flow more easily. So that's another card for us to think about during that week. So really think about surrendering to inner peace and surrendering to joy. Let's have a look. Last card. Yeah. Okay, and this also really fits very well. Surrendered worry. Okay, so again, so some of you could be worrying about what to do next. How am I going to get my next bit of money? What do I have to do to actually be more maybe visible? Or what is it I need to do? And how am I going to use technology to actually really take my work out there? Trying not to get into a manic thinking of worrying too much, which is also really a heightened card of that, as well as also this feeling guilty about changing maybe your career or changing your stance on the matter of things. Okay, make a commitment not to lead an anxiety-driven life. When your worries arise, breathe them out of your body. Focus on the power of your heart and have faith, and the spirit will always be guiding you. Okay, so I just firstly feel that this is actually much more to do with people who are worrying a lot about maybe things not going the way, having to let go of things, or actually worrying about making changes. All right, I'm kind of speeding up my communication because I know the battery is going to go, and there's one card going to not one card. I don't want to lose my filming here. Okay, so one card I just pulled out, or just fell out actually, from the Sacred Rebel card today, is going against the grain. So I do feel that in some way that some of you are definitely going to be going against the grain in the sense of maybe what you said you were going to do, maybe changing your mind, changing the direction, okay, and maybe going against maybe what other people are doing or how people are doing it, and you're actually finding your way. This is going to take you a depth into your own depth of your truth as well, and maybe even meet much more like-minded people. This card reminds me of the card that I had in last week's reading, which is to do with the bird coming out of its cage and actually really flowing towards the community and the people that you really will meet. So even if it means you're kind of swimming on your own, you see actually she's quite naked and she's swimming out on her own, you're going to meet your tribe and your people, but to keep having faith as you move forward through the space that you're not sure about, but do go inward because you shall be guided. All right, so I think I'm going to end the reading here today. It is a bit shorter than usual, but that's fine with me, and I'm sure it's fine with everybody else because time is precious. And really the mantra, the healing process for this going against the grain, which is really lovely, is it says here, I honor myself and I honor the truth I express through the very being of myself. I accept the protection that I'm offered, which is truth as your protection. So it's your truth that's going to keep you protected, so that I may go against the grain from a place of love and as an invitation for others to be open to life, and so be it. So in some way as well, you could be setting an example by actually going on your own, you know, following the road less traveled, and see where it will take you, which is really lovely because it will bring you home, okay, and it could be also mean a change, but by sticking to truth, which is also what this book is, card is saying, that stay truthful to yourself always, okay, and even if it means that you're going against other people. All right, so it seems that maybe the camera has stopped on me, and I'm not quite sure at what point it did, but I think I was finishing off on the grain and going against, you know, what other people might want for you. But that is exactly what this week's reading really is about, to really cultivate on letting things go that have no use for you anymore. Just be open to retrieve and even receive, okay? But retrieve, you know, so keep what has use, leave the rest. Okay, be very discerning in your choices. Use truth as protection. Let things fall away as it needs to fall away, because you'll be returning home. You'll be going through a cycle, all right, and cycle of change for sure. And like I said earlier on, let whatever maybe even childlike ideas that you've had, or be childlike in your decision making, so you can allow joy to come in, inner peace to come in, and to really harmonize. So thank you for watching. Bye for now, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.
you.